Hello, and thank you for calling the Millionaires of the Bible series. My name is Issachar Bey. I am the Senior Director of the Temple of Enlightenment International Spiritual Center, and I want to welcome you to our call. We're excited about this call that we have been going on. We've been going on for about 9 weeks now for the Millionaire of the Bible series, and we are doing very well. I think that we're getting a lot of good feedback. A lot of people are really enjoying these calls, and really having a lot to really take in the lessons, the levels of consciousness, the how our minds have expanded from where we started to where we are now. And on this Sunday, this great Sunday, we are once also enjoying the new moon. So it's a great time for everybody to take in what has been sown, to harvest, right? It's a good time for you to receive the good that the universe has for you. It's a good time to start something new, to take in that which you want to bring in, that which will benefit you, increase you, and also take you to the next level. It is the time to receive, and so we are in a receiving mode. This month of August is our month of action. Exactly. It's our month of action. Write the word action down, those of you that are listening. It's the month to take action. Many of you have been pondering. You have been thinking about doing something. You have been hoping, wishing, praying that things will happen. This is your month to take action. Just write down action, and then under action, write just do it. Just do it. This is the month of just take action. Because when you take action, you'll be surprised at how the universe will then allow things to fall in the right alignment and allow your vision to get provision, allow the things that you want to manifest to fall into place. You'll be at the right place at the right time to meet the right people. And so we are excited about this month of August. We are excited about this month to take action. And so we are entering a new book this morning. It is The Millionaire from Nazareth. It is the yellow book with the gold star. Those of you can go to Amazon and get it. I believe that it's available in paperback, and also I believe it's available on ebook. And listen, these are the whole series, the Millionaire of the Bible series. I believe that these books are definitely books that you want to have in your, these are the books that you want to have in your library. These are the books that we can, now, many of us are looking at this book now, and a year or two from now, we could read the same book and it means something totally different to us, because we are evolving. We are expanding in consciousness. We are moving where we are to where we are going. And with that, as we expand, our world expands, and we are at a higher level than we once were, and our level of consciousness has expanded. So we're really excited about what's happening. When we look at the book of Nazareth, the Millionaire book of Nazareth, we're getting into the Gospels. In the New Testament, the Gospels, right? The gospel means good news. And the good news was you don't have to be poor anymore. That's what the good news is. The good news is you don't have to be poor no more. You don't have to be broke. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be discombobulated. You don't have to be bamboozled. You don't have to do none of that. You do not have to be broke anymore. You do not have to be poor anymore. That was the good news. The good news was you learning the precepts, the concepts, the prosperity principles that we're going to learn in these forthcoming chapters that will elevate our level of consciousness. Jesus manifested literal financial supply for both himself and his followers. He symbolized the divinity in every man, that you should never be poor again. Listen, when I say the word poor, it doesn't mean those that don't have. It doesn't mean those that are less fortunate than us, right? To be poor or to live in poverty is a mindset. Because let me explain to you. we operate from the inside out, right? And so if we're going to be operating in a millionaire consciousness, you never get out of life what you want. You only get out of life what you become. That means if I'm operating at a millionaire consciousness, I will start attracting the millionaire lifestyle and the millionaire the situations and opportunities and things that will come to me. When you are operating at a level of poverty, that's a mentality. And what happens is if you change your mentality, it's impossible for you to stay poor or to stay in poverty, because as you change your consciousness, as in consciousness, so on earth, right? So if you change your consciousness, you will start attracting the very thing that you're conscious of. So when we talk about Jesus coming in with the divinity in every man, that they should never be poor again, it is an indication that he's talking about reevaluating, to take on, like the Bible says, let this mind that was also in Christ be in you, right? What kind of mind? A prosperity mind, a millionaire's mind, the laws of consciousness, right? The strength, the wisdom, the intellect. Now it says here in John 10:10, Jesus says, I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly, right? Not only did he want you to have life, and I think when he says, I want you to have life, what he actually means is, I want you to be able to live and enjoy and fulfill life to its utmost potential. I don't want you to live life. I don't want you to allow life to dictate to you how to live. I want you to dictate to life how you want to live. You know, some people used to say all the time, how is life treating you? Doesn't matter how life is treating you. What matters is, how are you treating life? He says, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly. When we come into a consciousness of this millionaire consciousness that we have been collectively coming into, we come into the ability to accumulate wealth, knowledge, wisdom. That word wealth, once again, meaning farewell, right? Whatever your soul's desires are, the good that you desire, to farewell your health, your prosperity, your happiness, your peace of mind, your spiritual awareness. And all of these things are part of you faring well. So when we talk about wealth, we're actually talking about all of those things in one. We're talking about health, prosperity, happiness, peace of mind, spiritual awareness, and we're talking about faring well, that you're doing well in each one of those categories, that you're faring well. To fare well in each one of those categories is actually to accumulate, to embrace wealth. When we take on the consciousness of the millionaire, we're going to learn in this series about the master teacher, Jesus. He was a master teacher, and he was teaching the laws of prosperity. Many people believe that for whatever reason Jesus was poor, but that is 100% incorrect. Jesus was very wealthy, and he was very rich, as we're about to find out in these preceding chapters coming, of how much of a master teacher he was and how he was teaching his disciples the laws of prosperity, how to walk in a millionaire's consciousness, how to manifest whatever it is that you need at that given time. Jesus had a prosperous background. He was born, as they say, in the royal bloodline, having descended from a line of prophets and kings. We know about King David, and just the lineage, as you go back into the Old Testament and look at the lineage that the royal bloodline has came from. Now, the wise men who are from the east presented him with gifts of frankincense, gold, and myrrh, right? But listen, there's been a misconception here because, a lot of people, even in the church, they seem to have a problem with astrology. They seem to have a problem with astrologers. But the wise men were astrologers because they had to follow the star to locate Jesus, to locate where he was. Now, there was a couple of misconceptions about that. Number one, there were more than 3 wise men. I know in the stories, on the television shows, in the movies and so forth, they only had 3 wise men. The wise men were a company of astrologers. It was a group of them. It was more than 3. And in order for you to follow the star, you have to know where the star is. You have to know the context of the star, and you have to have the knowledge of the science of astrology to be able to delineate the star and its movements and how can it point you in the direction of what you're looking for. So these men were actually astrologers, right? Just wanted to put that out for those that feel that, there was something astronomical or significance. Astrology is a science. And they often say that astrology is astronomy brought down and applied to the affairs of man. But these wise men use their knowledge of astrology to locate and follow the star, which led them to Jesus. And they begin to give him the gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Now, there's many stories about different things dealing with Jesus, how he received the Holy Spirit, which symbolized the consciousness of divine abundance. They talk about how he was able, to choose his disciples. The first person he chose was Matthew, which was a tax collector, and he chose him to be one of his disciples. He also appointed Judas as a treasurer. Now, they often say, if you don't have any money, why would you need a treasurer? You need a treasurer because you have funds. That goes to also show you that he was already in preparation to know that we're going to be wealthy, we're going to make money, we're going to have money, and we need somebody to operate and to handle and structure and be over that department, which is the treasury. He picked his 12. Now, metaphysically, the disciples are really considered to be a man's thoughts. So there's many different layers that we can look at this text or the text in this book. But we're going to stick with the psychological ramifications of this. But the word disciples metaphysically means the thoughts. So just like last week we talked about the 12, whenever you see the 12, it has to do with the 12 thoughts, the 12 powers of man, right? Because each one of those powers in you are also thoughts, right? And we talked about how each one of the 12 powers of man were connected to the 12 tribes, was connected to the 12 zodiac signs. Jesus has been called the Son of Man, the Son of God, right? Now, Jesus is not only the S-O-N, but he's the S-U-N. And the 12 disciples can also be categorized or connected to the 12 zodiac signs. Now, here is a scripture of one of Jesus's prosperity formulas, which he declared in the Beatitudes. It says here, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Now, people will read that and say, oh, Jesus is talking about those who are poor will receive the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the poor in spirit. He didn't say poor in consciousness. He didn't say poor in physical possessions. He said, blessed are those who are poor in spirit. And what he meant by that was that they had a sense of humility, that they were allowing the egotism, the pride, to control and to exalt their spirit, but that they had a humbling spirit. Those who have a humbling spirit theirs is the kingdom of heaven, which means that if you can remove the egotism and remove the pride out of your life, out of your spirituality, you can be open to receive and to really connect with the kingdom of heaven that's within you. So that's what he means by the poor. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who are humble, who are not at a place where they are egotistical. And we know that the word ego, the word ego, means edging God out. Ego, edging God out, right? We want to remove the ego and remove the pride so that we can have a connection to him, that we can tap into the kingdom of heaven which is within us. The humility allows you to let go of any preconceived notions. It allows you to connect with the divine source, the God in you. Now, Mary of Bethany, a special friend of Jesus, was considering a woman of wealth and social position, not only in her village but also in Jerusalem. While she was with Mary and her family, Jesus allowed his feet. Now listen to this. Jesus allowed his feet, symbolizing, now feet metaphysically symbolizes his expanding understanding of the material world. So what he did was he allowed his spiritual understanding of the material world to be anointed with precious oils. And this gracious act was not only literally a rich gift from his hostess, but also a symbol of the prosperity consciousness that was being poured out to him. The more and more that we get involved in this, the more that we are going to see just how much of a prosperity master teacher Jesus was. Now, they say that Jesus wore seamless robes, which were regarded as being very valuable, and that even at his crucifixion, we see here that the Roman soldiers cast lots for it because it was expensive, right? We now enter into Nazareth. Why is this book entitled The Millionaire of the Bible series, Nazareth? Let's take a look at the word Nazareth. Now, Jesus was from Nazareth, which was his hometown. It was a small place inside of Galilee, right? And it symbolizes energy, life, activity of the outer man. Nazareth, it simplifies the commonplace or the commonplace mind of man. So it was a common place. It was just a regular common place, a place where you would just begin to do things and where things begin to happen. It was like the foundation area. It was just a common place, but it symbolizes the commonplace mind of a man. Understand that every time the Bible names a person, every time the Bible names a place, it is a level of consciousness. It symbolizes something metaphysically. Now, although Nazareth simplifies the commonplace mind of man, it also signifies that, these ordinary places of development, these ordinary places of circumstances that happen, that the prosperity truth, first in your thinking, then in your life, comes aware while working on ordinary circumstances. The word Nazareth also means branch, offshoot, sprout, watched, and guarded. Nazareth was considered a despised place. They often say, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Now, the name of this chapter is called From Carpenter to Lord of Plenty. Because the carpenter from Nazareth came to open the way for you to become attuned to the universal prosperity consciousness, a carpenter is a workman who builds or repairs, one who converts ideas or thoughts into visible forms. As you learn to use your prosperity methods that we're going to learn from the master teacher, Jesus, you can make repairs upon your own life or build anew, converting ideas and thoughts into visible forms as the need arises. When you do this, you will feel like a millionaire since you experience increased abundance and happiness. Remember, the word millionaire means abundance and happiness. We're going to go from learning about Jesus as a carpenter, one who has the skills to build and repair, one who has the skills to convert your thoughts into visible forms. We're going to learn from Jesus how to create our own reality, how to master the art of manifestation, how to build something new, how to convert my ideas and thoughts from the intangible realm and make them tangible. There's something about understanding prosperity, understanding the prosperity of health. Now, it's very ironic how whenever we talk about prosperity, health is included with that. Because he says, I wish above all that you prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. Well, lets us know that health is always going to be connected to our prosperity. As a millionaire, we have to also not just focus on just becoming a millionaire, or lavish abundance and the happiness, but that we're also health conscious as well. So we want to make sure that we have that. When Jesus was going within, he understood the power of going within, because he realized that if he failed to go within, he must learn to live without. And when the master teacher went in, he recognized and called forth his divinity. He began to know, he began to go from the carpenter to the Lord of plenty. We can operate the same way. We can operate learning the skills of what a carpenter does. But then we can also call forth and begin to renew, to reestablish our identity and go from the carpenter to the Lord of plenty. When we understand the power of Jesus and all that he had done and will do and who he is. See, we have been mistaught, because we have to understand that God is in us. And because he's in us, he's not in the sky by and by, but he's within us. And as long as we understand and be able to go within, once we're able to go within, we can now have that life, that lavish abundance that we all seek. We can now have prosperity in our peace. We can have prosperity in health. We can have the prosperity and plenty. Why? Because we are now operating from the consciousness of becoming a carpenter to the Lord of plenty, having more than enough. Having more than enough to maximize our relationship with him. Now, I've discovered that some of Jesus' most famous promises and prosperity formulas, the scripture talks about the parables. Most of the parables were prosperity parables. When we look at the scripture, we ought to look at it with the metaphysical eye, with the metaphysical lens. And it says here, all things whatsoever the Father have are mine. John 16:15. I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. John 10:10. If you seek anything, ask of the Father, he will give it you in his name. Hereto have ye asked nothing in my name? Ask and you shall receive, that your joy may be made full. John 16:23 and 24. The hunger he hath filled with good things. Luke 1:53. All things, whatever you pray and ask for, believe that you have received them, and you shall have them. Mark 11:4. Nothing shall be impossible unto you. Matthew 7:20. Ask, and it shall be given unto you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened. Matthew 7:7 and 8. If ye abide in me, and my word abide in you, ye shall ask whatever ye will, and it shall be done unto you. John 15:7. If you ask anything in my name, I will do it. John 14:14. These things have I spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. John 15:11. The one that jumped out to me the most was John 7:7 and 8, where it talks about ask and it shall be given. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open. For everyone that asketh receiveth. He that seeketh will find. And to him that knocks, the door shall be open. Now, that right there breaks down our ability to move from the level of being a carpenter to the law of plenty, the law of having more than enough, the consciousness of moving and elevating in that prosperity dynamic of the law of more than enough. They say that Jesus was young, teaching in the temples. He began to learn the prosperity secrets. He began to learn. He realized his divinity. He knew who he was. And because he knew who he was able to go ahead and tap in to call forth the law of plenty. We see it right here. We see the transition being made right away in this chapter, in the first chapter of this book. We have to now allow ourselves to make that transformation. We know that we can rebuild, we can restart, we can organize, we can structure, we can take the thoughts and concepts and take them from the intangible realm and make them visible, and we can do that. And we can operate in that law of being a carpenter, but at the same time now, we want to operate and move into the law of plenty, having more than enough. In the coming chapters before us, we will be talking about many great things that we will see the master teacher talk about. We will get into some deep truths and concepts, and we will be able to really get a great understanding of what happens when we allow ourselves to tap into our divinity. We come to the recollection, we know Jesus wasn't poor. He was one of the most prosperous thinkers, the master teacher of prosperity. We understand that when he talks about not being poor or that we are no longer poor, he's speaking about the consciousness of poverty. Now, I believe that prosperity and poverty are two sides of the same coin. And so you have to be very careful of how you're operating in consciousness. We see here that Jesus' ministry began as he was fishing in Capernaum, right? And the fish symbolizes ideas of increase. Capernaum was a place of both physical and metaphysical prosperity. Now listen, we're going to get into operating. Fish represent ideas. And so those of you who are listening, if you're ever in a situation and you are saying that you need money, what you're really saying is you need to go fishing. Because we're going to learn how to go fishing. You're going to learn how to go and catch the fish, because fish represent ideas, and ideas are money. The fish represents the ideas of increase, the ideas of abundance, the ideas of prosperity, right? Ideas, money chases ideas. So what we're going to learn, it's one thing for us to give you a fish, to give you an idea, right? If I give you an idea, you just have that one idea. But if I teach you how to fish, where you can go and get the ideas, learn how to get your own fish, learn how to create your own and get your own ideas. Now, guess what? Now you have the prosperity. Now you have the money coming and chasing those ideas. I don't want to chase money. I want money to chase me. I don't want to be operating in lack. I want to be operating as the Lord of plenty. Jesus inherits his prosperity at birth. We talked about the wise men coming, giving him the precious frankincense and myrrh, and giving him the precious gifts. And we see here that these men knew who he was. They understood. They began to follow him. They began to come and pay homage to him because they knew who he was. And so it was solidified at birth that he was who he said he was. He was operating in his divinity. Back in those times, or even now, I would say, poverty could be considered a curse, and wealth was considered a spiritual blessing. But now, what happens here is the ability to restructure your mindset, to restructure your consciousness, to go from poverty to prosperity. See, if you start thinking thoughts of prosperity, start having the thoughts, the ideas, the concepts, and start talking prosperity, and start meditating prosperity, and start speaking prosperity, guess what happens? Prosperity has to show up. So that's why I tell you guys that poverty is a mindset. Because if I'm talking prosperity, if I'm meditating on prosperity, if I'm thinking on the laws of prosperity, if I'm speaking prosperity into my atmosphere, it's impossible for prosperity not to show up. But if I'm operating in poverty, I'm always talking about how broke I am. I'm always talking about how I never have enough. I always talk about how every time I go 3 steps back, 3 steps forward, I get knocked 4 steps back. You keep talking about lack, loss, and limitation with the poverty mindset. So I have to be able to get out of that poverty mindset and move into my law of carpentry, so I learn how to be able to be the carpenter and then escalate and move up to becoming the Lord of plenty. Jesus, as we're going to learn, he really endorsed wealth. He really endorsed prosperity. He did not hesitate to promote it. You know, he's setting the stage here, as we can see. All of his disciples were regular men who had jobs, who had businesses, who were operating in their own fields, and they were very good at what they did. And he took men who were accomplished, who were men who were accomplished in their own fields, and he allowed them to follow him as he, as we're going to see, reconstructs their lives and reconstructs every aspect of them based on them following his teachings. He emphasized the good news to many. And the good news is you do not have to be poor anymore. He emphasized, he taught that. You do not have to be poor anymore, but take hold of this prosperity, the law of plenty. Take this prosperity consciousness, this millionaire consciousness. You don't have to be broke anymore. You don't have to be poor anymore. The Nazarene, they call them the Nazarene. You hear people talk about Jesus of Nazareth, right? The Nazarene will just goes to show us that he started from the bottom just like everybody else. He wasn't born with a silver spoon in his mouth. He wasn't born with all the bells and whistles, but he started in a common place. He had a regular hand just like everybody else. His hand wasn't better than yours. Your hands wasn't better than his. But it wasn't how well your hand is. It doesn't matter how good or bad your hand is in life. What matters is how you play that hand to win in the game of life. We see here in Nazareth, he was able to have that common place, the common place of the mind of man, which means that he had the regular thoughts, regular situations. He was a commoner, right? But moving from a commoner, moving into being a carpenter, then from a carpenter, he moved into becoming the law of plenty. Understand the steps, because his operating as the law in the law of a carpenter was important. Because even though he was doing things, or what seemed to be doing things on the physical level, he still needed to learn how to operate and do things on the spiritual level. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Jesus had the power to mold the universal substance into definite, visible goods for each one of us. What we're going to learn how to do is do the same thing. Let this power that was in him also be in you. Let this mind that was also in Christ Jesus be in you, the Christ mind, the Lord of plenty mind, the prosperity mind, the millionaire mind. When we learn how to mold the universal substance into a definite, you got to be definite. That's why if you're moving or operating out of poverty, the good news is you don't have to be poor anymore. You got to be definite about where you're going. We're not focusing on poverty. We're not talking about poverty. We're talking about prosperity. We're talking about the millionaire's consciousness. We're talking about operating and elevating and moving from one place to the next. Jesus says you cannot serve God and mammon, because he knew mammon is riches, regarded as the object of worship or what considered to be a false god. People serve mammon who leave God out of their financial affairs. When you realize that God wants you to prosper, you realize that the God in you is your source. We are not worshiping money, but we are actually connecting to the God in us. And because we're operating to the God in us, we understand that that God in us will allow money to actually work for us, that money will come after us, and that money will become what we needed to do. We can speak to money, and money will hear us. Reverend Knight teaches that money has ears, and that if you call money and speak to money, money will show up. He used to also say that money is like a woman that needs to be wooed and pursued. And if you take care of money, money will take care of you. Money was designed to circulate, to move. Consciousness is currency, right? Money is God in action. And we understand that word that we're using this month is action. So if you're listening to this call and you need money, you got to start operating. Take action. Start speaking the laws of prosperity. Start thinking the laws of prosperity. Start meditating on prosperity. And it has to show up. Because you only get out of life what you pay for. What are you paying for? Are you paying your attention to the lack of? Are you paying your attention to not enough? Are you paying attention to you're not worthy to get money, or you're not supposed to have money? Everybody else is supposed to have it but you. When we overcome those inferior mindsets, when we remove those blocks, we can then now embrace that we deserve to have money, that we are worthy enough to receive it, that money comes to us from the north, south, east, and the west, that we are now the Lord of plenty. We are operating and following the teachings of Jesus. To begin to see his life and how he began to go through things and begin to see life through his lens is going to be very fascinating, because we're going to be able to unlock so many things that you guys have probably read about in the Bible all your life and never really knew the significance of it as concerned or connected to prosperity and the millionaire consciousness. We have to start operating as creators, because there's only two kind of people that you're going to meet in this world: creators or creatures. Which one are you? You can only be a creator, or you can be a creature. And so those are the two kind of people that you're going to meet: creators or creatures. Which one are you? We begin to now give out and live in a different level of consciousness, because those of you that are listening, I want you to write down, what are some of the things that you need to fix in your life? What are some of the things that need to be remodeled, maybe restored, repaired? Because we're in a place now where what we need to do is define and really look at our lives and say, listen, I have some things that I need to work on. There's some things that I need to restructure, restore. There's some things I need to repair. There's a lot of things that I need to redo again, right? That I need to refix, reorganize, restructure. And as we're getting ready to move into this Lord of plenty, it's very imperative that we operate and move in those situations. It is imperative that we move and operate in the consciousness of Jesus. Jesus of Nazareth. We're going to move and elevate from one level of consciousness to the next. Now, what's going to eventually happen is you guys are going to realize who you are. There's going to be an awakening that may scare some of you, and you may get to a place where you are now able to really look at life and say, wait a minute, I'm really opening up to my divinity of who I am. I'm really understanding that it's not I, but Christ that liveth in me. And because I'm operating at that level, things begin to change. What I see begins to change, what I hear, what I think, all of these things begin to change as I come into a level of self-awareness, of tapping into my divinity of who I really am. I and the Father are one. We're going to learn the prosperity teachings from the master teacher. We're going to learn how to move and elevate, how to take these things and apply them to ourselves. I'm going to bring back also the call notes, because there's going to be a lot of things that we're going to want to start writing down and making references of as we move forward in these coming chapters. When we move into a new realm as a millionaire, we obtain the abundance and happiness. I love the definition they give for the millionaire, abundance and happiness, because happiness is something that is very important. I don't know about anybody on this call, but what good is life if you can't be happy, if you can't enjoy it, if you can't have fun, right? But here's the thing. The abundance and the happiness, which are the definition, the metaphysical definition of millionaire, is something that's coming from within. You do not want to go outside of yourself for a representation of abundance or a representation of happiness, because anytime you go outside of yourself to tag on or to connect with something outside of yourself, you give that thing power over you. I don't want anybody or anything to have power over me or to have control over me. I want to have control over my own destiny. I want to have control over my own life. The most frustrating thing in life is when you can't move or operate because you are basing your movements on somebody else's, what they can do when they're ready. Have you ever went somewhere with somebody and you're ready to go and you can't leave because you came with them and they're the ones that was driving? It's a messed up situation in life when you want to be able to move and do things, but you can't do it because you have to wait on somebody else. I never want to be in that position. I want to be able to have total control over my destiny and over my purpose in life. So with doing that, I have to always learn how to go within. And not allow myself to be caught up in going outside of myself, looking for love for somebody else, looking for appreciation, looking for attention outside of myself, looking for affection outside of myself, looking for acceptance. Because any of these things that I'm looking outside of myself for, as soon as I get those things outside of myself, I have now allowed that thing to have power over me. And understand this. This is the key now. Anything that's physical is temporary. So whatever I'm dealing with on the physical level is always going to be temporary. But that which is intangible is eternal in the heavens. So anytime you go outside of yourself and go into the physical world to get something, that thing that you're getting that's giving you happiness, that thing that you're getting that's giving you the attention and the affection you need and giving you the quote-unquote love that you need is all temporary. But when you grab it from within, it becomes eternal. The master teacher, Jesus, is teaching us how to be the Lord over plenty. How to really operate and really begin to manifest and pull these things into fruition. We see that we're learning and we're going to watch and see how he operates, how he does things. I always tell people this in life. One of the keys that I live by, and this works perfectly, don't always go by what a person says. Don't always go by what a person does. Sometimes look at what they don't say and look at what they don't do. And that will tell you what it is that you need. Sometimes you don't even have to ask the question. Just listen to what they don't say. Sometimes you don't even have to ask them to do anything. Just listen to what they don't do. And it speaks volumes to you. We have to learn how to really take a great notice in the master teachers and how they are operating and teaching us. And what we're going to learn in the coming weeks, I believe is going to be mind-blowing. As we get ready to move from restoring, I know this week I'll be looking at some things that I can repair and restore. I'll be in my Carpenter bag with my tools, looking at what can be restored, what can be rebuilt, what can be revived. Because nobody on this call is perfect. Every one of us could use some extra work. Every one of us could use to be repaired, to be renewed, to be restored, right? As we shift our consciousness into the law of plenty. So I wanna definitely allow you guys to take hold of these prosperity teachings. The master teacher Jesus is going to give us some great financial wisdom, financial knowledge. I can tell you one thing, that from the time we started these metaphysical Bible teachings, my consciousness has expanded greatly. I mean, just on a whole nother level. I started connecting with a lot of people who were in money groups and investment groups and organizations, and starting equity funds and just all kind of stuff dealing with prosperity and finances and money. Just things were coming into fruition because my consciousness was focused on it. I was already thinking it. I was speaking it. I was hearing it. I was living it. I was seeing it. And so it had to show up. And so as we go further into these teachings, your life has to change. It can never be the same. You can never stay in the same position that you're in. You can never stay in the same position, the same consciousness, the same place that you're in. Because if you want to make the change, all you got to do is change your level of consciousness. You got to work from the inside out, not from the outside in. Those of you who are on this call today, I want you to remind you that tonight we're going to be doing the prophetic encounter call tonight. I'm going to be giving out a word of prophecy. We're going to give out some other things, but most importantly, I want to prophesy to the people as a whole and let you know where we are, what things we need to be doing, what season are we in, and how we need to prepare ourselves to move and operate in the positions and the places that we are in. I'm excited about where we're going and the action that must take place. This morning, we are operating on the new moon today, and I want you guys to be in on this, to be in on good ground, to be able to receive the good that you desire, to receive it. Do something that you've never done before. Go out and have a good day today. Go and treat yourself and take yourself out and have a wonderful, go out, take yourself out to dinner, enjoy yourself, go see a movie, do something fun. Begin to write down the things that you want to bring in. Begin to write down the laws of prosperity. Begin to meditate on those affirmations. Begin to do the things that you need to get done. And this is a great time. Those of you who are creatives, those of you, this new moon is about creativity. It's about being able to really tap into your creative genius, being able to really galvanize and bring your creative thoughts and creative processes together. This is no other greater time than to really get into that manifestation of really bringing things into fruition. So there's no greater time than the present. This is a time, those of you that was thinking about starting the business, those of you that were thinking about starting a group or starting this or starting anything new, bringing new ventures into fruition, this is the time to do it. This is the time for those of you who were thinking about doing something and thinking and thinking and talking and thinking and writing and talking and thinking. Take action. Take action. This is the month for you guys to deal with matters of the heart. A lot of you have been dealing with things, issues, and different things, issues and matters of the heart. This is the month to deal with those things. Take action. Don't run from it. Don't block it. Don't put it off to the side. Don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. Deal with the matters of your heart. This is the month to do it. So I wanted to definitely invite all of you to the empowerment call tonight. It will be at 9 o'clock Eastern time. If you can, invite as many people as you can. So this is what I'm going to do. It's the Send Prosperity Now empowerment call. What we're doing is Psalms 118:25. What it is those of you that will sow the 118:25, we'll do the prophetic word. You will receive some other things that we're going to be talking about and discussing. This is a call that will not be released out to the public. It will only be given to those who, now I will say this, those of you that don't have the 118:25, so what? Get on the call, sow your best seed. Make sure you be on that call. Make sure that you put some seed in the ground. Put your best offering out there. Because I want to make sure that you get what you need to get. I want to make sure that the blessing, that everything that's supposed to come to you, all the good, the prosperity, the abundance that's for you, it is for you. I don't want you to have any blocks. I don't want you to not be in the number. So no matter what you got, just get on the call. Find three or four people that you know and say, hey, listen, you need to be on this call tonight. I spoke to Reverend Israel, and he's thinking about joining. Hopefully he can get on there and we can tag team it together. So we want to be in a position. This is no time like the present for us to come together, to be together, to unite, and to really get in tune with what's going on. I really want this to be a great call tonight, and I know that it will be. I'm getting ready to start some new things starting Monday, where I'm going to be studying and putting myself to open up some other new doors and new opportunities that are going to be happening. Listen, take action. It's not about, I don't have this, I don't have that. Now is the time to take action. No more excuses. Just take action. We want to invite you guys to be a part of our circulation service. So we operate with the millionaire seed of $37, right? The number 3 represents the number of self-expression. It's the number of expansion. The number 7 is the number of spirituality. It is the number of redefining, redeveloping, right? It is the number of being in a position to elevate and to maneuver into that next dimension. The number 37 is the number that gives you the structure, the foundation to which you're going to build on. We call it the millionaire seed. And so those of you on this morning's call, if you want to sow the $37 millionaire seed, or whatever seed you want to put in the ground, put something in the ground. I'm telling you, put something in the ground today. It's we have Cash App, which is TOESC $TOESC Temple of Enlightenment Spiritual Center. We also have Venmo, which is going to be at Issachar, ISSACHAR Bey. We also have Zelle, which is going to be Issachar Bey at gmail.com, ISSACHAR BEY at gmail.com. And then we also have PayPal, which is also going to be Issachar Bey at gmail.com. So we're looking forward to the circulation. What we release out of our hands will return back to us 100-fold return. It will return back to us 100-fold return. We don't spend money because in the word spend is the word end. And so we circulate. Once we circulate it, it comes back to us 100%. But that goes for everything, our energy, our effort, our time, anything that we put out, it circulates back to us. And we receive a 100-fold return. I want to thank you guys for tuning in on this Millionaire of the Bible series as we start this new book. I'm excited about it. Those of you that can and will, definitely get you a copy. You want to have these books in your library. You also may want to get it on the Kindle. I'm not sure if they have it on Audible as of yet. You can check and see if they have it. But you definitely want to get you a copy of these books. I myself like the hard copy because I like to be able to highlight, read. I like to be able to go back a year or two from now and pick it up again and read it, and it means something totally different to me then than it did now. So we definitely want to move into that. I want to remind you guys on Wednesday, join in with us, and Wednesday night at 9 p.m., we have our Lessons in Wisdom call. We also want to thank those of you who are listening from our Chicago branch. We went and opened up a branch on meetup.com in Chicago for the Temple of Enlightenment call. So there may be a few people on here from the Chicago area, and we want to thank you for being a part of the call, and we are looking forward to having you. We're getting ready to move into Los Angeles next. So we're moving from city to city. We're opening up. We're branching out. We are. I'm letting divine spirit lead me. We're going to Los Angeles next, and from Los Angeles, I think we're going to go to Virginia. We're going to take it down to Virginia. I'm following spirit. Spirit is leading me. So we're going to be moving. We're going to be operating. We're going to be moving. So I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank all of you for being on this call. And once again, I want you to know this one thing. Your destiny is not a matter of chance, but it's a matter of choice. Thank you, and I'll see you tonight.